Thank you for joining me today. Today we're going to be doing a bit of a slow flow with a focus on the throat chakra. So if you are located in the US, you have recently had a change in administration, presidential administration, and for a lot of people that brings up feelings. Good, bad, doesn't matter, it just probably brings up feelings. And with the change in administration, I think it's really important to feel like you have a voice, to feel like you have the opportunity to take up space and still be part of our country, our society. And the throat chakra is all about communication, so we're going to focus on that so that you can feel like you have the ability to communicate, you have the ability to feel heard, and hopefully just settle into this new administration. All right, so we will start seated on our mats. Find a comfortable seated position. And we're going to start by focusing in on the breath. Close the eyes. And just start to notice the breath. We're not yet trying to control or change the breath. Just notice the inhales and the exhales. Start to notice how the breath feels as it fills up the body and then as it leaves. So maybe notice first the inhales and how they feel in your nostrils, and then how they feel going down the back of the throat. How they feel when you fill up the lungs. Breathing slightly deeper, noticing the breath as it travels through the body and the diaphragm expands. And then one more big inhale, this time noticing the breath as it flows all the way from your nose, through your heart, your lungs, your diaphragm, and the belly expands. And then go ahead and start to add a slight constriction in the back of the throat to practice ujjayi breathing. If you've never practiced this before, you can try the first few rounds by inhaling through your nose, exhaling out your mouth as if you were fogging up a mirror or a window. Once you feel comfortable with that slight constriction in the back of the throat, go ahead and close the mouth. So you're still feeling the heat in your mouth. You're still feeling as though you're making that H sound, but the air is leaving your nose. You can keep the eyes open or closed, your choice. We're going to take a few full body circles, rounding towards the back of your mat. And then pulling the heart through, maybe a slight lift in the chest as you come to the front of the mat. Exhale back. Inhale front. One more time this direction, and then we'll switch directions. Think about getting the extension, other direction, all the way through the spine. So rounding from tailbone through crown of head, and then as you come to the front, arching from tailbone to crown of head. Full body circle. One more time. back to center on the inhale. And then find a neutral spine on the exhale. And then we're going to transition our breathing a little bit. So normally if you were to do cat-cows, whether you're seated or on all fours, you would inhale, open the heart forward, exhale, round back. But we're going to add lion's breath. So we're going to actually inhale, round back. Feel as though you're expanding into the back of the lungs. And then as you exhale, stick out your tongue to the front. Inhale back. Feeling up the back body with air. Exhale. You can do this quietly, or you can really practice making your voice heard, making that breath nice and loud. One more time. Forward exhale. Come back to neutral. If your eyes are closed, feel free to open them. We're going to roll over onto all fours, grabbing something extra to cushion your knees, if that feels good. Find a nice neutral spine, reaching through the crown of the head, squeezing the belly button up so that we're supporting our lower back. And then tuck your toes, and we'll push back into our first down dog. So keep the knees nice and bent for this first down dog. Maybe extending one heel at a time towards the ground. Or you can play with stretching the toes, reaching up on the toes, and then sinking the heels back down. Whatever you're doing to warm up your feet and the backs of the legs, make sure that you're still really extending out through the tailbone, so that we're not dumping our weight into our shoulders. As soon as you start to round, it tends to push your shoulders over your wrists, and then you'll have a lot more weight on your wrists. Take another breath here, and then on an exhale, gently step forward to the front of your mat. Go ahead and wrap the hands around the elbows for ragdoll. And relax here for a moment, maybe bending the knees if your hamstrings are not warm yet. Let the head hang heavy. Notice the weight of your head and how gravity will pull that weight and lengthen your neck. Release the hands to the ground, and on your next exhale, you're going to roll up one vertebrae at a time, really squeezing the core to support your spine. And then once you're all the way upright, inhale, roll the shoulders. Inhale, hands rise all the way up. Exhale, fold, following the thumbs to the ground. Inhale, half lift. Bring the fingertips to your shins or even to your thighs. And then release. Inhale, reverse swan dive, rise all the way up. Exhale, hands to your heart. Inhale. Exhale, fold. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, gently step back, coming into plank. And let's take a few moments in plank. Maybe rock forward and back, stretching out your toes. Or maybe side to side, noticing how the weight feels in your wrists. And then come back to center. Drop the knees to the ground, knees, chest, chin, opening the throat. And then releasing the body to the ground and lifting the crown of the head for cobra. So just like our warm-up, we're not reaching with the chin. Instead, lift with the crown of the head so that you have lots of space in both parts of your neck, your front and your back neck. release, and let's push back to child's pose. Taking just a single breath in child's pose, and then tucking your toes, hips lift up and back, down dog. We'll stay here for 3 breaths. On your next exhale, step forward, coming into forward fold. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, reverse swan dive. Exhale, hands back to your heart center. Inhale. Exhale, fold. You can swan dive or keep the hands in prayer, doesn't matter. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. And this time you're going to step back with the opposite foot. Let's find plank and hold plank for a moment. Reach through the crown of the head. Feel that same long line of energy through the body. Crown of the head, through the heels. And then on your next exhale, soften the knees to the ground. Knees, chest, chin. Inhaling to cobra. Inhale and exhale. Go ahead and push back. We'll find child's pose first, just for a breath. Feel the air in the back body as you inhale in child's pose, and then exhale, tuck the toes and push back to down dog. 3 breaths here. On your next exhale, step forward. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise all the way up. Exhale, hands to your heart. We're going to add on and incorporate a little bit of balance. So as you inhale, pick up one foot. Exhale, twist towards that knee. Inhale, back to center. And then as you exhale, you're going to step that floating foot slightly behind your standing foot and reach up and over. Breathe into that side body, and then exhale, back to center, hands to your heart. Inhale, opposite foot lifts. Exhale, twist. Inhale, center, and kick that foot slightly behind you, reaching up and over. You can grab a hold of the thumbs, or you can grab a hold of opposite wrist, or you can interlace and reach your pointer finger. Whatever feels comfortable in your wrists and your hands. Come back to center and release your hands to your heart. Inhale. Exhale, fold. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, step back gently to plank. And we'll flow through our knees, chest, chin. If you want to take chaturanga and up dog, that's totally fine. But knees, chest, chin is a great option for opening your throat for today's class. Go ahead and release the head and push back to child's pose. Tuck the toes and push up to down dog. And this time we're going to pick up one foot. Inhale that heel towards the sky. Hips stay square to the ground. And then on an exhale, step the foot all the way through. You're probably going to need some extra cushion if you have sensitive knees, so go ahead and grab your extra cushion and drop the knee to the ground. And then you're going to come up so that you're in a slightly shorter stance so that you have a 90 degree with your knee, a 90 degree with your hips, and almost a 90 degree with the back leg. Inhale. Exhale, side bend. Inhale. Exhale, back to center. And then we're going to release and twist just like we did in our balancing posture. And then we're going to reach behind for a modified version of camel pose. Now this might be really challenging, so feel free to grab your block for a little extra height. Big inhale, exhale, opening up through the hip of the back leg, the shoulder of the floating arm, and then tilt your chin up just slightly, opening up the throat. One more breath. Exhale, we're going to come into a twist. You can bring your block with you just to drop it off at the front of the mat. And then feel free to stay here with the back knee on the ground or pick up the back knee. Making sure that if you have a shorter stance and your knee is starting to come over your toes, you just wiggle the back toes back just a little bit more. This will also help you keep your hips square to the ground. One more breath. And exhale, release the hands, step the foot back, inhaling plank. And then we'll make our way to the other side. So drop the knees, chest, chin. Inhaling cobra. And then exhale, push back, child's pose. On your next exhale, tuck the toes and hips lift towards the sky, down dog. Inhale, opposite foot comes up. Exhale, step that foot through. Again, maybe a slightly shorter stance. If your stance is too long, it's going to be really hard to get into that modified version of camel. Inhale, exhale, let's start with the extension. I honestly can't remember which side I did. Normally I go this way, but that feels wrong. We'll just do it again. Back to center, adding your twist, and then making sure you have a block handy as you tilt backwards and reach to catch that back heel or to rest gently on your block. 3 breaths here. Lifting the chin almost defiantly. You have something to say, and the thing that you have to say is of value. It deserves to be heard. On your next exhale, we're going to swing the hands forward, coming into that twisted version, keeping the block or not, and keeping the back knee on the ground or lifting it up. Release your floating hand, gently step back, and on an exhale, knees, chest, chin. Inhale, cobra, rolling the shoulders back. Release and push to child's pose. Take an inhale in child's pose. And then exhale, tuck the toes, shift the hips back, down dog. 3 breaths here. These breaths are the opportunity for you to physically catch your breath if you're feeling a little winded. If you're feeling a little winded, you can always find child's pose to relax and recover. But it's also a good opportunity to just recenter, reconnect. Make sure that you're focused on your movement, focused on your breath, not distracted. On your next exhale, gently step forward. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. And then we're going to come into a toe stand. So if you need to, stretch your toes out and grab your cushion. Because we're going to go from our toe stand into camel. So feel free to stay right here with the fingertips on the ground. Maybe bring the hands to your heart, squeezing the inner thighs and the ankles together for support. Or maybe try extending the hands up and over, really challenging your balance. Keeping the shoulders away from the ears. Release the hands to the ground, and then we're going to come into camel. If you need a little bit more space, just walk back further in your mat. Spread your toes. I have itty bitty little short toes, so I have to spread my toes a lot. And then bring your knees to the ground. You also can do this without your toes tucked. I just really like to stretch out my itty bitty little toes, so that's my choice. Bring the hips so that they're lifted on top of the knees. And we're going to start by bringing your hands into your back pockets. Squeeze the elbows towards each other and just start to look up, opening up the throat. Think about shining through your Adam's apple if you had one. Come back to center, come back to neutral, take a breath. And then we're going to do it again. You can stay here, or you can grab a hold of the backs of the thighs and maybe open up a little bit deeper. Make sure that you're keeping a little bit of length in the back of the neck, so you're not just letting the weight hang heavy. Reach through the crown of the head to open the throat rather than letting the weight of the head do the work. Go ahead and come back to center. Take a breath. And if you need to, grab your blocks, or if you have your heels popped up like mine with your toes tucked under, it might be enough to reach for the heels, but we want to keep the hips right on top of the knees. So we'll go a little bit deeper. You can pick one of the first two options if that's better for you. If you'd like to go deeper, go ahead and reach for your blocks or your heels. Push the hips forward. Reach through the crown of the head. So you have that nice long line of energy. No 90-degree angles in the body to shut off the energy. Just a nice curve from your kneecaps out through the crown of your head. One more breath. And then gently come back to neutral wherever you're at. Untuck your toes, sit back, and take a breath. Back bends can be very energizing, which means they also might make you feel a little bit lightheaded when you come out of them. So take a few breaths to recenter, neutralize, and just feel comfortable before you move on. Okay, from here, let's go ahead and either swing our feet out to the side or cross our ankles behind us to gently roll back. We're gonna do some quick core and then a little bit more for the throat chakra, and then we'll be done. So in boat pose, engage the core, roll the shoulders back, squeeze the belly button towards the spine as though you were gonna scoop it underneath the rib cage, and then lean back slightly. If this feels good, pick up one foot, both feet. You can stay here, or you can drop the toes back to the ground, or you can extend both. And we'll be here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and we're not done yet. We're gonna roll down nice and slow for 5. Tuck your tailbone. Waistband of the pants is connecting. Lower back, right underneath the shoulder blades. And then release. Bring your knees to your chest. Give yourself a rock, side to side. Come back to center. Hands come to your hips. You can stay right here in legs up the wall pose or waterfall. Or you can come into a more challenging inversion, which is also great for your throat chakra, or come into a shoulder stand. So in order to come into a shoulder stand, engage the abs to pick the hips up. Maybe bring the hands again into those back pockets, and then feet towards the sky. If you feel really comfortable in shoulder stand and you would like a little bit more of a challenge, you can interlock the hands and take that support away from the back pockets. But make sure that you feel really confident and comfortable, because this takes a lot more control. It's also going to put a little bit more pressure on your head and neck. So if you have any neck issues, this is probably not a good option for you. If you have any neck issues at all, you might just want to stay with your hips on the ground with legs up the wall. We're going to stay here for about another minute. If you want, you can play with your toes and your feet, maybe flexing, stretching out the toes, and then pointing. Maybe some ankle circles. Or you can just stay nice and still. Three more breaths. Now, wherever you're at, come down nice and slow using that same core strength to roll down one vertebrae at a time. And then from here, we're going to come into fish pose. So gently lower the feet all the way to the ground. Hands stay right next to your hips, maybe even grabbing onto the side of your hips. Push into the elbows and tilt the head back so that the crown of the head is just barely tapping on the ground. Now, if this is not comfortable for you, or you don't have the strength or the flexibility, bring your blocks. One block underneath your shoulder blades, and the other block underneath your head, or maybe no block under the head. It's really up to you and what is comfortable for you. We will all stay here for 3 more breaths. Really notice the openness in the throat, especially after you just had that constriction in the throat in shoulder stand. Notice how the breath feels as you breathe and the air flows over your throat. Good, gently release the head. Everyone will roll back down onto the ground, and then let's finish. Extend the feet coming into Shavasana. Relax, adjust so that you can feel comfortable in this final resting pose, so that you can enjoy all the benefits of recovery after your practice. You are more than welcome to stay here in Shavasana for another 5-10 minutes. But if you do need to close out your practice, you can do so with me. Start by reawakening the extremities, wiggling the fingers, the toes. Give yourself some ankle circles and wrist circles, maybe expanding fingers and toes, and then creating a fist. Expand and release. Walk your feet in and pick your hands up so they're both pointed towards the sky, and then rock your knees in one direction, wrists in the other direction. Just windshield wipering side to side, and then come back to center. Roll yourself over onto your shoulder, or maybe using a towel for a pillow. And when you're ready, coming up into a comfortable seated position. I want to thank you for sharing your practice with me today. I hope that this gives you some confidence to speak your voice. Your voice is important and it does need to be heard, so I hope that you use it. Again, thank you. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Namaste.